Hello, I'm going to be commenting on the first ever Monster Train League run. If you're not familiar, it is a weekly challenge where Cinis, Never, Nathaniel, and I, and any new challengers, will be competing in a series of 6 Monster Train related challenges, one for each day of the week, with a day off. Unlike the in game community challenges, these ones will have different rules and win conditions. For our first week, we kick off with a race. We're all speedrunners, and we thought it would be a great way to start off this league. We are trying to complete all 6 set seeds with the shortest time possible. The competitor that gets the shortest cumulative time, with penalties for losing, will win the week. Since it is a race, and we are on the same seed, I thought it'd be interesting to do a side-by-side comparison. We have each individually uploaded videos of our individual runs, but this will show them all. If it works out, I hope to do the same for the other runs. Hope you enjoy. And here we are at the start. It is Hellhorn Awoken, Covenant level 1. We all evaluate the starting relics and decide to go with Rage Does Not Decay. Cinis and Never Nathaniel take the Brawler path, so they have multi-strike. I decide to go with the Reaper, so I get extra damage on slays. All 3 of us decide to take the armor challenge, so it's going to make getting through these 1 health enemies a lot more challenging. The Brawler path, of course, benefiting a lot more from the rage, which the artifact gives. So Never Nathaniel and Cinis have a little easier time getting through these chumps than I do. But we're all struggling to get the collector, who spawns on the 2nd floor, so all those armored enemies are in the way. So none of us are able to get it, not having drawn the torch to kill it. So that's unfortunate. Now myself and Cinis are a little farther ahead, with Never Nathaniel doing a little more math. Cinis finishes first and grabs an armor imp. He also grabs a Razor Sharp's Edge. I just finished myself. Cinis grabs an Alpha Fiend. I grab the Armor Imp. I decide to skip the 2nd card, and I also grab an Alpha Fiend. So now Cinis going for the upgrades on units. Never Nathaniel skipping his cards, and Cinis and myself are both kind of simultaneously picking multi-strike and health. Never Nathaniel mulling over what unit he might want and decides to skip them all. He wants a more of a tank, I guess. Looks like both Cinis and myself are starting the 2nd challenge, or 2nd ring with no challenge, opting for more safety there. Never Nathaniel now is taking the same upgrades, multi-strike and health on his now a little tankier sweeper. So Cinis finishes up the fight slightly ahead, and he grabs a Sharpen, and I believe it was a 3rd Ritual of Battle. Myself, I grab a Hornbreak and a Sharpen. We both go to the right path, deciding to pick up Gird's Goad, which gives Demon's Multi-Strike. We both have a Demon, so that's really helpful for both of us. So now Cinis is entering the Daedalus fight. Shortly behind, Never Nathaniel still finishing up on Ring 2. It looks like quite a few got through with his kind of a weaker Husk Hermit attack-wise, but he's going to have no problem on the boss fight. So now he's just finishing up the boss, while Cinis and I have set up on the 1st floor of Daedalus using the Armor Imp to survive, and the massive attack from the now 3 times multi-striking Alpha Fiend. So Never Nathaniel decides to go the right path, also picks up the multi-strike relic artifact, but he mulls it over a little bit since he has no demons. So now he is deciding to pick up Capacity. I missed that before. Cinis picked up Capacity. I picked up 3 Capacity. So now Cinis is doing spell upgrades. He is putting Holdover on Razor Sharp's Edge, cost reducing Ritual of Battle. I'm shortly behind him. I decided to go the right path though. Having picked up Cycle of Life, I now dupe my Alpha Fiend, and I get rid of 2 Train Stewards. Never Nathaniel working his way through the Daedalus fight. Cinis picking up the second upgrade for multi-strike, so he now has even more multi-strike. He's decided to skip the challenge on ring 4, whereas I go for the challenge. He sets up on the bottom. Consider that, but now I set up on the second floor, opting for safety and to clear out some of the extra units I had from the challenge. Never Nathaniel still working his way through the Daedalus fight, struggling a little bit more due to his Husk Hermit not having nearly as much damage as the Alpha Fiend with 3 times multi-strike. But Cinis just finishing up the boss, quite a bit ahead of myself. I'm only on the respite. He decides to skip card upgrades there, not needing that. He goes left for spell upgrades and card removal. I'm just finishing up the boss. Never Nathaniel is opting to skip the card choices here again. But he does pick up an Alpha Fiend to benefit from the multi-striking demon effects. So now I am going for spell upgrades, or as Cinis has already started on fight 5, I decide to cost reduce Cycle of Life and Sharpen. I also give double stack to one of my Rituals of Battle, and I remove a Train Steward. Or 2 Train Stewards. So I no longer have any Train Stewards. I also decide to get rid of a couple torches. Cinis playing very carefully on a stealth boss, very challenging with his setup. I also struggle with this. Never Nathaniel now is also opted for more multi-strike. Or actually, it looks like he took the armor path, so he's going to be tanking for his units. So Cinis is on the boss's spawn for Cinis. I am still working my way through the trash, and Never Nathaniel's on ring 4, having set up on the bottom. I don't believe he took the challenge. It looks like I'm letting a little bit of things leak, but I'm now setting up to reduce the stealth charges on the boss. So Cinis is now just finishing up the boss battle. I'm having to think my way through this fight a little bit as well. So now Cinis is grabbing Focus Growth. Never Nathaniel decides to skip his card choices. Still working on the boss. Cinis decides to go the right path for some card removal and unit upgrades. Gets rid of his last 2 Train Stewards. I'm skipping cards here, and Never Nathaniel's now working on some spell upgrades, cost reducing his Dazing Ascend, and I'm also getting some spell upgrades, cost reducing Cycle of Life again. Cinis already starting the Fell fight, and thinking carefully about where to set up. He decides to set up on the bottom floor with his champion in the back, razor sharp edging the champion there for some extra damage, and it looks like he's going with a more enhancement based strategy. Never Nathaniel decides to set up on the second floor, something both Cinis and I were not able to do on the stealth fight, but I'm now starting Fell, having set up on the second floor. And we're all in the fight. So Cinis is just going really heavy on his enhancements, razor sharp edge, and I'm going with Cycle of Life and Sharpen as well. So we're both kind of going with a heavy enhancement strategy, just with different tanks. And it looks like Never Nathaniel's now just finishing up on the stealth boss. Having a little bit easier time with it than we did, but he's still kind of further behind from the earlier fights. And now he's opting to skip the cards once again. I guess he's thinking that he has what he needs card-wise. He's opting to go to the right path, picking up some health, doing some card removal, and getting some upgrades for his... He hasn't upgraded his Alpha Fiend yet, so now he finds Multi-Strike, which is of course very good for Alpha Fiend, and he decides to give it some generic other stats just so he's done upgrading it. I finally finished Fell. I decided to go with Ember, and Cinis also just finished Fell and went for Ember. We both take the right path, and I decided to duplicate the Quick Tome. He goes for the Armor Imp. Artifact wise, I go for the health to the Pyre, and I believe it looks like Cinis skips, and I'm now finally slightly ahead, having skipped the Caverns. Cinis picking up Heartless health buff to his units. I set up on the second floor on this fight, and now Cinis is just starting fights on the Ring 7. Never Nathaniel working his way through the Fell fight. So Cinis ups to set up on the first floor. I didn't catch if we took the challenges. We probably both skipped the challenge at this point. So I'm just spamming all I can on the Alpha Fiend so that he scales quick, just mitigating most of the damage, whereas Cinis is going for a more armor and bigger health pool based taking strategy, but he also has quick, so he's also mitigating quite a bit of damage as well. I decided to go with Inflame for my card upgrade and skip the second card. Never Nathaniel now just finishing up Fell, and he has decided to go with card draw. So now Cinis is on his Relentless phase while I'm going for the final upgrades. I decided to make my units have more upgrade slots, even though I do not have access to a unit upgrade. And I put double stack on Inflame. Since going the left path as well, opting to skip any artifacts. But he does remove a couple heals since his units can no longer heal. Never Nathaniel optimizing his Fell or his Ring 7 run through as we speak. I am now working on the Seraph fight. I have to set up on the top floor because that is the one that can fit all my units, it being random from the Caverns event. Cinis is now starting the final fight. He is thinking about where to set up, and he decides to go on the second floor, him having the flexibility to start where he wants. I now am drawing into my Quick Tomes, which is really going to start mitigating a lot of damage here. Cinis looks like he's taking a lot of damage, so he's trying to figure out how to deal with that. Never Nathaniel still working through Ring 7, finally on the boss Relentless phase, and he has an easy time killing the boss there. And he is opting to skip the cards. And I am just kind of spamming all my upgrades on my front Alpha Fiend there. Cinis benefiting from a magic power enhanced torch to mitigate a lot of damage. But he does get some leaking. I am fighting Seraph, and I just finished Seraph. Never Nathaniel's now going to this final spell upgrade shop, upgrading Ritual Battle and his Restore. Him going with a heal-based mitigation strategy, unlike my quick damage-based and the armor-based one from Cinis. Now Cinis is just finishing up. He's on one of the final waves of the Seraph fight. Never Nathaniel starting the Seraph fight, setting up his initial units on the middle floor, and yeah, now they're both in the final fight here. Cinis using his razor sharp edge both as an offensive tool and a defensive tool. And now it's finally Relentless phase for Seraph, and he is just mathing out what he can do, and think he sees the move here. He decides that he should just skip out on those 2 units, kill them, and that is enough to kill Seraph. So he just finishes with the Seraph kill. Never Nathaniel just kind of in the middle of the fight. He is opting to tank with his champion, with the Alpha Fiend doing kind of cleanup detail against the back units. Husk Hermit really not doing much at all. So he's opting to go with both heals and armor there, and using the Tiresome Climb to clean up when possible. This lets them get some early damage in on Seraph. And it is a relentless phase here. He's got plenty of damage, but just a little behind on the start of the fight. He also ends the fight with a Tiresome Climb, like Cinis's, and he finishes it. We use the in-game timer for the final scoring. So in the end, we had a result of myself in first place with 12:34, followed by Cinis with a time of 13 minutes 36 seconds, and finally Never Nathaniel finishes with a time of 14 minutes and 30 seconds. If you enjoyed this, I would love to continue making content like this, so please like and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions for future League challenges, please leave a comment, and we'll definitely take suggestions. And if you're interested in participating, please contact myself, Never Nathaniel, or Cinis. And if you want to see the logic that each of us had running through this, rather than just a brief overview, you can see the linked individual run-throughs in the description and in this card. Thanks.